Hi, good evening, everyone. Um, just a quick announcement. We're re-recording this um, presentation because we had some technical difficulties last night, Tuesday, August 24th. Yesterday, we had the presentation start at 5:35 p.m. on Tuesday, August 24th. We're re-recording this afternoon on August 25th. So I just want to say good evening and good day for anybody who's watching this during the daytime. Thank you for attending this presentation. So I want to welcome everybody attending the State Road 15 US 441 Restoration, Rehabilitation, and Resurfacing Project Public Meeting. My name is Damaris Williams. I'm the FDOT project manager for this project. So I would like to introduce the design team working on this project that will cover the details of the roadway improvements that this project will bring. Next slide, please. So starting here on the left, on the FDOT side, there's myself, Damaris Williams, FDOT project manager. We have Billy Caneto, the communications officer, Grace Ducanis, the deputy communications officer. And then on the consultant side from Stanley Consultants, we have Cindy Kendrick, the consultant project manager, Renaud Olivet, senior roadway and drainage engineer. Please forgive me, Renaud. For I don't always get the last name right, but Dan Hill, senior designer and utility coordinator, Roberto Jimenez, the transportation engineer and Q&A coordinator, and Liliana Perez, the public involvement specialist. Next slide, please. So this public meeting is presented in a virtual format using GoToWebinar for those that prefer to be connected remotely. We're also broadcasting from a physical location in the city of Pahokee. That was the case last night for those in the public that prefer to attend in person. And the reason for it is to provide the opportunity to attendees to participate from different locations. It provides multiple ways to share information and solicit input. And there's no cost to the public to log in or dial into the meeting. So next, I will hand over to the consultant project manager, Cindy Kendrick. She'll go over the agenda for this meeting.
Thank you, Damaris. The next 6 slides are going to cover the meeting agenda, the meeting format, along with other meeting information. Starting with slide 10, we'll discuss the project information. The format of this meeting will be a formal presentation, and you have the option to listen to this meeting on your computer or portable device. The device audio is selected by default on your device. If you prefer to listen by phone, select the telephone in the audio panel of the control panel and dial in using the information in the audio meeting information box displayed on the top right of your screen. The formal presentation will be available for viewing after the meeting at the same link provided for the meeting. Next slide, slide number 5. As mentioned earlier, the meeting will be conducted in 2 parts. First, the presentation, followed by a question and answer session. Participants in person are encouraged to fill out the comment cards provided at the sign-in table and hand it to any of the meeting coordinators. GoToMeeting participants can type their questions or comments in the comment question feature at any time during the meeting. The team will answer your questions or comments during the question and answer session. If you happen to experience technical difficulties during the presentation, please call GoToWebinar Support Services, toll-free number 1-833-851-8340. Next slide, please. Slide 6. Again, the department invites your comments and questions, so please use one of the more comment options shown on the screen. The public comment period for this public meeting will remain open through September 10th, 2021, in order to be included in the public meeting summary document. However, we welcome your questions and comments at any time during the project. You will receive a follow-up email within 24 to 48 hours with a link to today's recording. The recording link will also be posted at the meeting website. Next slide, slide number 7. Public notice for this virtual public meeting, including information on how to access the meeting platform, was provided in the invitation flyer to property owners living in the project area, a posting in the Florida Administrative Registrar, and emails to persons on the project contacts list, on social media feeds, and other notification methods. Notice was also posted on the FDOT public meeting website. Next slide, please. This is slide 8. The Florida Department of Transportation is required to comply with various non-discrimination laws and regulations, including Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Public participation is solicited without regard to race, color, national origin, age, sex, religion, disability, or family status. Persons wishing to express concern about Title VI may do so by contacting either the Florida Department of Transportation District 4 Title VI Coordinator, who is Sharon Singhagen, and her phone number is 954-777-4190, or the Florida Department of Transportation Statewide Title VI Coordinator, Jacqueline Paramore, and her phone number is 850-414-4753. And additional contact information for these officials is shown on the screen, as well as the meeting notification and on the websites shown above. Next slide, please. So this is to acknowledge the elected officials that attended the meeting last night. We had 2 elected officials who attended in person, and that was Regina Bolhan, the vice mayor, and Greg Thompson, the interim city manager for the city of Pahokee. Next slide, please. This is slide 10. This is an overview showing the project limits. The project starts just south of Shirley Drive and continues north and to the west through Pahokee, ending at Main Street, just north of the Chamber of Commerce. Next slide, please. Slide 11. An overview of the proposed improvements include repaving the existing roadway, adding sidewalk on the west side of the road to provide a continuous sidewalk along the project length, improving bus stops, providing corridor lighting, and improving the existing lighting at Backham Point Road or East First Street, signing and pavement marking improvements, and adding pedestrian crossing locations to provide connectivity in the area. Next slide, please. And again, the project improvements include repaving the existing facility. The existing roadway will be milled and resurfaced with new pavement. Concrete sidewalks will be added on the west side of the road to provide sidewalk continuity. The new sidewalk limits are from Shirley Drive to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. New pedestrian crossings are proposed at the intersections of Shirley Drive, Pahokee Drive, near the track store at State Market Road, at Barfield Highway, and at Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. The sidewalk will also cross over the railroad tracks near Market Road, and railroad pedestrian gates will be provided at the sidewalk. Deficient guardrail will be replaced to meet the latest standards. Street lighting will be added along the roadway from Shirley Drive to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, and upgrading the lighting at Backham Point Road, East First Street intersection to enhance the lighting at that intersection. Next slide, please. This is slide number 13. So the next few slides will show the proposed improvements starting at the beginning of the project, which is just south of Shirley Drive. We've divided the project into 9 segments. And after we go through the 9 segments, we'll go over some specific areas in a little bit more detail. So this is segment 1, which again starts just south of Shirley Drive and goes to just north of 87th Place North, kind of near the Pahokee Food Market. You'll see the sidewalk that's on the west side of the road, it's the new sidewalk. And you can see some green symbols, and those are proposed lighting that's going to be added to the project. And there's going to be some bus stop improvements near 86th Street. You can see the little red circle kind of circling that area. And there's going to be a pedestrian crossing from Shirley Drive to the new sidewalk that's on the west side of the road. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is segment number 2, and this continues going north, and it starts just south of Pahokee Drive and goes over the railroad tracks just on the other side of State Market Road. And you can see the sidewalk that continues on the west side of the road and the lighting that's being added adjacent to the sidewalk. There's also bus stop improvements at Pahokee Drive and also near the track store. And there is pedestrian crossing locations at Pahokee Road and the track store as well. And at the railroad track crossing with the new sidewalk, there's going to be pedestrian railroad gates provided there. Next slide, please. This is slide number 15. And this starts just on the other side of the railroad track, and then the roadway actually continues to the west in this area. And we're approaching the Pageant Island community near Pageant Circle. And again, you can see the sidewalk that continues along the roadway and new lighting that's proposed. And one thing I wanted to mention is that to provide the sidewalk crossings at the driveways, we will need to repave some of the driveway entrances and regrade to harmonize with the existing driveways. Next slide, please. Okay, this is segment number 4, and this is continuing along the Pageant Island area near Pageant Circle, and is approaching the Barfield Highway area. And we have the sidewalk that continues along the south side of the road. And there'll be some sidewalk connections at the Pageant Island development, some lighting that's proposed along that segment. And then we're going to have a pedestrian crossing from our proposed sidewalk to the sidewalk that's being constructed as part of the Barfield Highway project. Next slide, please. Okay, this is segment number 5, and this is continuing. We've left the Barfield Highway area, and we're approaching McClure Road, and you can see the sidewalk that is on the left side of the road, and the lighting, the green light poles that are going to be added to provide lighting along this stretch of the roadway. All right, next slide, please. This will be segment 6 of 9, and this is leaving McClure Road and approaching Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. And we're going to be providing sidewalk that will connect and provide a connection to the existing sidewalk just north of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. We're going to have proposed lighting along that segment, and we're going to restripe the crosswalk just north of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard to connect to East 5th Street. Next slide, please. This will be segment 7 of 9. And along this stretch, we're primarily going to be just repaving and restriping the existing roadway. And one item I wanted to mention is at the St. James Church, we're going to be doing some grading to correct the cross slope of some handicap spaces in that area. Next slide, please. This is segment number 8. And this is from north of 3rd Street to north of 2nd Avenue. And again, we're primarily going to be repaving and restriping the existing roadway in this area. Next slide, please. Okay, and this continues the project up through the Backham Point Road intersection and takes it on to East Main Street. And then our project ends at Anona Avenue. And we're going to be repaving and restriping this portion of the roadway. We're going to be improving the lighting at the intersection of Backham Point Road or East 1st Street to provide better lighting for the pedestrians at that intersection. Next slide, please. So this is slide number 22. So that was an overview of the proposed improvements from the beginning of the project to the end. Now I would just like to highlight a few of the specific improvements. This is towards the beginning of the project at Shirley Drive. You can see the blow up of that intersection with State Road 15. And you can see that we've got our pedestrian crossing over State Road 15 to connect with our proposed sidewalk on the west side of the road at that particular location. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, and again at Pehokee Drive, we have a similar crossing where we have a pedestrian crossing that's going to connect to the bus stop that's proposed on the west side of the road, along with the new sidewalk. And then also near the track store, we have an additional crossing that's going to provide a connection to our new sidewalk on the west side. And one other thing that I wanted to highlight is for a safety standpoint at the railroad tracks, we have some additional striping at the railroad tracks, and that's the dynamic railroad striping that'll be provided. So that's an important safety feature at the railroad track crossing. Next slide, please. Okay, this is slide number 24. And looking at the Barfield Highway intersection, we've got a pedestrian crossing that's going to connect with our new sidewalk on the south side of the road. And Barfield Highway has some current improvements underway, and one of them is a new sidewalk that's going to be provided. So this will be providing sidewalk continuity through the area. Next slide, please. And this is a blow-up showing the proposed improvements at East Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. And we're going to be restriping that pedestrian crossing area. And you can see the sidewalk that'll be provided on the west side of the road to provide some sidewalk continuity through the area as well. Next slide, please. Okay, this is a blow up showing the intersection of Backham Point Road or East 1st Street. And you can see the crosswalk striping that's going to be provided for pedestrians. And we're also going to do some lighting improvements at the intersection to make the pedestrians more visible as they're utilizing the crosswalk in the area. Next slide, please. Okay, this is concerning the construction impacts for the project. A temporary traffic control plan has been developed to minimize the disruption to the traveling public, residents, businesses, and property owners. Construction will be done in phases to reduce effects of the construction to the community. Temporary lane closures will be required to repair portions of the roadway. They will also be performed off-peak hours. Two-way traffic will be maintained at all times. Driveway access to businesses, residential developments will be maintained. Temporary sidewalk detours will be required at one location. Next slide, please. This is slide number 28. At this time, the construction duration has not been finalized. However, we anticipate the construction to take approximately 15 to 18 months, with construction starting in the summer of 2022 and being completed in the winter of 2023. The estimated construction cost is approximately $3.2 million. Next slide, please. This is slide number 29. The Department of Transportation encourages safe travel at all times, and we would like to share with you the safety banner from the Florida Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles Agency. The theme for the month of August is Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over. The Florida Department of Motor Safety and Motor Vehicles, the FLHSMV, is committed to proactively protecting the safety of all motorists on our roads, educating everyone on safe driving practices, and to always working to make a safer Florida slogan. So we encourage you to visit the flhsm.gov for safety tips on safe driving, hurricane season, emergency preparedness plan, pedestrian safety, and many more important topics and resources. And the resources are also available in Spanish. Next slide, please. This is slide number 30. Project documents are available for download from the project website. You can find the address for the State Road 15 project in the meeting invitation flyer. Next slide, please. Slide number 31. Again, the department invites your comments and questions, so please use one or more of the comment options shown on the screen. The public comment period will remain open through September the 10th, 2021, in order to be included in the public meeting summary document. However, we welcome your comments and questions anytime during the duration of the project. You will also receive a follow-up email within 24 to 48 hours with a link to recording of the meeting. If you attended in person, there is a survey at the signing table, and we appreciate your feedback. The recording link for this presentation will also be posted in the meeting website. Next slide, please. Thank you for everyone for submitting your questions and comments. Our project team will now address submitted questions and comments. Okay, next slide, slide 32. Okay. Again, you can need, I'm sorry, slide 33. Again, you can either type in or verbally ask questions or comments. If you are joining us online using the GoToWebinar app, please click on the control panel, type the question in the question pane. To verbally ask questions, please click on the raise your hand button. Our team will recognize you and you can unmute yourself to ask the question. If you are calling in using your phone and you do not have a GoToWebinar app, please press *86 and announce yourself. We will then recognize you to ask questions. To comment in the in-person location, you can write your comment and give it to one of the meeting coordinators at the registration table. If you would like to verbally state your question, please request a speaker card and give it to one of the meeting coordinators. Next slide, please. So these are for public comments for online participants. Thank you, everyone, for submitting your questions and comments. Our project team will now address submitted comments and questions. We will call upon any online participant who has requested to speak. When your name is called, you will need to unmute your microphone using the GoToWebinar control panel buttons shown on the slide. If the microphone button is orange, that means you need to unmute yourself. If it is green, it means that your microphone is ready for you to speak. Please state your name and address, and if you represent an organization, a municipality, or other public body, please provide that information as well. Finally, we ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. Next slide, please. This is slide number 35. This is for public comments for in-person participants. We will now call upon in-person participants who have requested to speak. And can we confirm from the in-person location if there are any? Please come to the microphone when your name is called and state your name and address. And if you represent an organization, municipality, or public body, please provide that information as well. Please keep in mind that if we cannot provide a proper answer, we will respond to all comments in writing at a later date. Please provide your contact information for future communications. Next slide, please. This concludes the presentation for the public meeting for State Road 15 US 441 3R project. We would like to thank you for attending and for your participation. On behalf of the Florida Department of Transportation and our presenters, thank you for joining us today, and stay safe and be well.